All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
And good morning to all. I am rocking my credibility glasses. We have a lot to do today. Yeah, it's going to be sweet. Got all the kids in the yard. Kim, how are you?
Kim, how are you?
Good morning.
Yeah. And Tony is as Tony-licious as a Tony can get.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah. It's also good. I am looking forward to getting into some, I get a little politics today. I also have a question about, in fact, I want to start the show, Kim, asking you a little bit about this whale, and I guess this whale in San Francisco Bay that refuses to leave.
This guy, he's been around for 10 months.
Yeah, this is of concern. It sort of brings on some bigger issues. It also brings to mind actually, he's going to be a guest on the show, this guy. I almost shouldn't give you the name, but I will. The most awkward toss to a weatherman ever.
Oh.
It was a toss to me, and it was related to a whale, a baby whale that lost its way in San Francisco Bay. Anyway, we got a lot to do. We're all over the place. So welcome. I am excited to have you here. Smash the like button like a boss. It's a big thing apparently on YouTube. You know, you need the likes to somehow algorithmically work out with the number of views you've had. There's a whole world on YouTube that I'm just learning about. And in that spirit, I will tell you that Tony has been brilliant in breaking out videos into video shorts.
Thanks, Tony.
And those video shorts are effective in trying to sort of get the word out about the show. You know, we're trying to improve the footprint of the show. That's why we ask you to share on Facebook. That's why we ask you to, if you see something you like, or there's a video that you think is particularly maybe pertinent to something that you were talking about, whatever it might be, you can send it to someone, or you can post it on your Facebook page, and you have an access to other people that we just don't have. So not asking you for money, asking you to share the show where you can. So Tony has come up with these shorts. I mean, you've seen them. They're being done by everyone now, and they're not easy to do. And Tony has really hit the ball on them. You know, he just takes a segment we're talking about. It might be Tucker Carlson, it might be Donald Trump, it might be Joe Biden. And
I'm good at making people angry.
Yeah, and so he posted, and even the John Larroquette story. The John Larroquette story isn't political, you know. That's up there as a short. Not all the stuff's political. Just like the show, not everything on the show is political. But anyway, what's happened is, and this is the wild thing, I'm starting to get, and it's working. You know, the word is getting out there. More people just kind of clicking on the short. They may not watch the show. So I'm getting far more. What would you call it? Static?
Hate messages.
Yeah.
Messages of displeasure.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
The short audience and the regular audience are actually very different beasts, and you're just hoping to get some of the people who watch the shorts to watch your show. It's just the way it is.
And so you end up with, on the Tucker thing, I had no idea. I'm making a fairly, I think, mainstream point about Tucker and about Bill O'Reilly. If you haven't seen it, essentially I just said, you know, I know Tucker seems like the be-all and end-all, but there was a be-all and end-all before Tucker. It was Bill O'Reilly. And I know that Laura Ingraham seems like there was a Laura Ingraham before Laura Ingraham. That was Megyn Kelly. I'm just saying that they serve up these people like short-order chefs over there. They will come up with another one. So you would think that's not a particularly courageous position. I was just kind of breaking it down. Man, you would have, everybody's up my butt about it.
Ouch.
So it's just,
listen to me. I don't want to hear you.
Thank you. There was a lot of that. So I was going to try to read you a couple of them, but while I look for stuff, I wonder if you can tell me what's happening. I think all of us are. We don't love to see these marine mammals, these majestic marine mammals, being forced into migration patterns or any other situations that they, shouldn't be in. So I want to ask Kim about the gray whale. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
Kim, what is happening with the whale in San Francisco Bay?
Well, I guess it seems more whales are making their way through the Golden Gate Strait. So that's a concern. But now
because that's not a typical pattern. In other words, that's
not a typical pattern.
Okay.
I mean, they do sometimes, but it's not normal, right? Well, now it's becoming normal. And it was thought that they were coming under the Golden Gate Bridge into the bay for maybe looking for food, taking a break, couple days, vacay, and then they head back out onto their little pattern. Well, more of them are coming in and staying. And now you've got this guy who he's a gray whale, has been in the bay now for 10 it looks like way too long. 75 days.
75 days. How many months is that, Tony? Do you know? Can you put it into you?
Thanks, Tony.
It beats the record of the previous whale that was 46 days.
Yeah. Isn't that about 3 months or something or not?
Yeah.
90 days is 3 months, right? A little less than 3 months.
Yeah, he's been here for 75 days. We're doing
I don't mean to, I'm laughing only at the fact that anyway,
the problem is that
yes, what is the problem?
Bay and where this whale is a huge shipping lane. And so the longer he stays, the more chance that he's going to get nailed by a ship coming through and die of a ship strike or get severely injured by a ship strike. He's got to get out of there. He can't stay in this area. He's not supposed to be there anyway.
What are scientists saying, marine biologists and other scientists who know this stuff, saying about why this whale and others are ending up in the bay more frequently?
They're calling it unusual. They're saying there's 2 or 3 gray whales that spend a significant amount of time here, and that they're coming into the bay because likely they don't have enough food to make it all the way to their migration. That may be why. And it could be that climate change is altering the habitats of their prey. And that's why the habitats are changing, pushing them into the bay.
Wow.
And so they're looking for food in places where they normally wouldn't. And they're worried. The scientists are saying we're worried about a ship strike. The Marine Mammal Center in Sausalito, the folks there say, they have other whales that have washed up on beaches around the Bay Area. I think in years past, one year, there was just like whale after whale washing up on our beaches injured. And so they're worried about the cause of death for several other whales that have washed up, maybe kind of coming for this whale. So they want to see him out.
Yeah, it's a fact that the whales also have tremendous exposure to the risk of ship strikes outside the bay, right? I mean, those shipping lanes, there's a speed limit. There's an international speed limit, and it's not being enforced. And that's one of these controversies within the overall questions when it comes to whales and their movements. But the idea is that it's so difficult to avoid ship strikes. And now with these ships oftentimes not obeying the speed limits out there, it becomes even more difficult. Not to mention the fishing lines that are entangled in so many of these creatures that find themselves in distress and beaching them. I mean, it's a pretty bad scene. The last thing I'll say about whales is that, their ability to use sonar and sound to ascertain their surroundings and to sort of navigate these long distances as they migrate. Ascertain would be a ding word.
Yeah.
The sonar and those sounds completely jammed by the other sounds of the ocean, like the sounds of the ships. There are so many of these ships and so much in the way of underwater sound that they say it would be like cranking up your headphones as you listen to music and just having your ears blown out all the time. They say that's the environment in which they have to navigate. It is these highly sensitive creatures are just inundated with the most extreme, almost violent assault on their senses. So
you can see the whales surfacing here near Alcatraz. And if you've ever crossed the Golden Gate Bridge and looked out, this is right where all those ships are going back and forth. So, yeah, he's right there, or she.
Well, It is no fun and not a good story.
Y'all can all go to hell, and I'm going back to Texas.
Yeah. But thank you for that update, Kim. I saw that story and I was concerned. So, yeah.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I was given a ration of grief online about having, and some of you wrote in, actually. The email address is themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com. Some people send us some great content. You also send, thoughts about the show or, suggestions. Many times, as you know, I take whatever suggestions you might have. And so in that spirit, I also got this. Mark, did I miss your Tony Curtis story? I wanted to hear it. This is from Immortal Tiger online. I listened to the whole show, and Mark mentioned it, but he didn't talk about it. I blame... tough one. Who do I blame on that? Kim, I think.
Kim, how are you?
That could be a producer blame. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, maybe.
Thank
I
you,
don't know.
Tony. That's really gentlemanly.
Whoever is producing this thing has no idea what they're doing.
I did
I'm not
ask...
producing this thing. Why is it my fault?
I asked, please remind me, and I will tell the Tony Curtis story.
Good Lord.
And I still will. My question before the Tony Curtis story, also sent to me, was the photo of the guy who's on vacation on a cruise who took the Mark Thompson Show hat with him. Oh. And they're just pictures of the hat at all of these different places. Did you get any of those, Tony, or not? Can we show them later or something? All right. Then I got another couple of... here's one. This is on Elon Musk.
Uh-oh.
Musk is without question leading the entire world in space progress. Oh, this was a lie. I think this was in the chat. Or maybe it was, I just don't get a chance to see the chat when we're on the air. Kim kind of watches it a little bit more, and once in a while I'll try to glance over. But Musk is without question leading the entire world in space progress. Mark is widely out of touch with the facts. Petty complaints. I'm ready to have a conversation about Elon Musk. People seem to really, sensitive about it. I did a big thing on him the other day because I acceded to the notion that he really established and popularized the electric car. Okay, I mean it was there before, but Tesla revolutionized the notion of driving it, made it sexy, made it cool. Also, from a substantive standpoint, put that electric charging system in, which is, I believe, the high watermark in electric charging networks. The e-cars are all arriving, but the network of electrical charging systems has not arrived with enough oomph for people to feel comfortable, and they get that range anxiety. Like, can I drive my car from here to there? Can I drive it from Novato to San Mateo? Will there be a place down? I mean, that's an example. Of course, there'll be a million places in San Mateo to recharge it. But you see the point. I mean, if you drive into the Central Valley, it's a much different deal. Anyway, I give Musk credit for popularizing and taking that company and making it something. That doesn't mean that I have to be cool with everything else he's doing. And I think this SpaceX is more a problem that's wrapped up with a government interaction with private industry. So I'd love to talk about it another time, but this guy was jumping on me about Elon Musk, and so there you have it.
Sometimes smart people are weird. He's weird politically.
Oh, Musk is... and
everything he's doing with Twitter makes zero sense to me.
Well, I mean, with Twitter, with the workplace at Tesla, there have been a lot. I mean, I think he's a very problematic figure, independent of what I was just saying with Tesla. I think once you get beyond that, he's a really problematic figure.
Petty complaints. Oh, I'm sorry. Racism is petty? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
My bad.
That and more. This is from Jean, who is on vacation, sent me the picture of the Mark Thompson Show hat. As they are on a nice cruise, clearly enjoying. In fact, he sent me, there it is. They're on their way to Miami. I guess that's where they catch the cruise. and that must be on board the cruise.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
That hat is enjoying quite a vacation.
Yes, yeah. I think that hat is seeing the world. I guess they're on their way to Rome, is what he said in his email. So, and there's the
wow.
You can see the hat in all these different places, performances. That's a great shot.
The hat
Tony,
is more
can we do something with that shot?
I.
That is a great shot. Anyway, Gene and family, enjoy your time and your cruise. And
The Mark Thompson Show.
I have a very big law and disorder. There's pretty substantial news. I will get to the Supreme Court where they're tripping over each other to take money and make corrupt deals. But I also wanted to acknowledge that Donald Trump is still very relevant and probably the squad leader when it comes to the upcoming presidential race. The reason I'm pausing is that, the other big figure, even though he is, I'd suggest he's a troubled figure, and he's a troubled figure politically because he just can't seem to get traction the way Trump has gotten traction, is Ron DeSantis. And he's sort of viewed as the smart Trump, keeps his mouth shut and just goes for various political moves, taking on Disney, taking on wedge issues associated with the culture. That becomes his deal. So anyway, I'll tell you the latest on that with a chunk of Trump.
Open wide.
Ready?
Here comes your chunk of Trump.
It's my favorite food.
With your first bite, here's Mark Thompson.
I have a feeling it's going to be beautiful.
What they want him to do, insiders apparently, and he is listening to this, they're urging him to make Ron DeSantis the running mate to Trump. You avoid a lot of the political nastiness that would result from a primary. You avoid Trump being bruised at all, although he seems, as we've said, impenetrable, right? I mean, he's just like, he's got this, the shields are up and, accused of everything from raping a woman in a fitting room. That trial is going down now. Now, that trial is about not the, you can correct me, Kim, but it's not the act of, and this is a weird thing to say, the sex act. Right. It was what Trump was saying about E. Jean Carroll. And so she is suing him in civil court for remarks he made. It's a weird thing. Like you'd think.
It's not a criminal case. It's a civil case. Yes.
While the polls have the former president leading the Florida governor in a potential 2024 race, some Trump world insiders are urging Trump to make DeSantis his running mate. Quote, some of his supporters are suggesting he make a deal with DeSantis to make him VP. And he's listening, but he hasn't agreed. Supporters say the VP offer would stop DeSantis from opposing Trump and offer a youthful conservative vigor to the slot, which Biden doesn't have, says this insider. Biden doesn't have a youthful vigor? Let me say this about Biden. I know everybody dumps on his age, and I get it. The older guy, I love older boys and girls, so I don't quite have the issue. Sometimes I look at him and I go, that guy's in better shape than I am. I mean, he's got that thing where he walks like this. You know what I mean? And he's got that tailored suit, right? I mean, I'm not just saying it. I think the guy, he's riding. I understand he fell off the bike the one time, which you can do when you get your. And I'm not some Joe Biden fan. I'm just evaluating his physical condition. He's in pretty good shape. So, anyway, they want Trump to take on Biden with DeSantis as the Veep pick. At least that's what some in the world of Trump are pushing for.
A couple of interesting chat texts about that. Deidre from Lozica Concrete writes, the 14th Amendment prohibits two people from the same state running together on the same ticket. I didn't think that was in the Constitution. I thought that was just kind of not done.
Wow.
And then
well, first of all, mad respect and a ding for knowing that 14th Amendment provision. I wasn't aware of it. Go ahead.
And Joe says Trump wouldn't be able to stand another strong personality. DeSantis could not stand having the spotlight. They'd both be fighting for the microphone.
You're right about the fact that one would have to let the other be the alpha male. And that's a really good point, actually. They can't both be in the room and both get the spotlight.
That's a great picture.
That is.
Eric
Trump
says they're not both from Florida. Eric says, I thought Trump was technically from New York. Maybe that's why.
Well, I think what the prior, the prior comment was related to was, excuse me for a second.
Yeah. Trump can't be together,
registered
two big egos.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably a really good point. But Trump, everything's a means to an end. So don't be, DeSantis is not stupid. He could decide to just shut up and be second banana. Again, he's not like Pence, who just, he lives to be second banana. But I take your point. I think it might be a tough fit. Anyway, what was the point I was trying to make? But we got off on that. Kim, who do I blame on that?
14th Amendment. You were talking about the 14th Amendment being from two states.
No, who was it? What was it? Anyway, I'll just mention that Trump has attacked DeSantis. Oh, I know what it was. Florida. Because the comment was he's technically registered in New York. I think actually he's technically registered in Florida, but he could easily reassert voter registry in New York because he has a residence there, right? Now, again, you have to spend more than 50% of your time. Dude, they're letting this guy abscond with 11,000 documents from the U.S. top secret vault. I don't think they're going to worry about whether or not he's 51% in New York or Florida. And my point is we've let a lot of stuff slide on Trump already, haven't we? As Trump attacks DeSantis over his travel, Florida allies are changing the law so the governor can stay in his role while running for president. Republicans in Florida want to change the law so Ron DeSantis can run for president and keep his job. The so-called resign to run law has been changed for the candidate before. The Trump campaign accused DeSantis of violating the law, even though he hasn't made an official bid. The amendment is a part of a broader elections reform bill. It comes on the same day that President Joe Biden announces his reelection bid. This is just yesterday we had that news. And as a former President, Trump, of course, is escalating his attacks against DeSantis, who is widely expected to announce a bid for the GOP presidential nomination as well. So it's in that atmosphere of squabbling, of changing the resign to run law. It's in all of that Trump is being urged on some level to embrace DeSantis. As you say, it just may be too tough a deal to make. That is your chunk of Trump.
That's it for this edition.
Well, I really enjoyed it.
But make sure to join us again next time.
I think you might want to listen. There's nothing wrong with listening.
For another chunk of Trump.
I've got a lot of SCOTUS news I want to get into. I think I can do it in law and disorder. I also have a little piece of breaking news and law and disorder. Only
I like breaking news.
Do you? I could do
It's my favorite.
Well,
I mean, if it's real breaking news, not like CNN where they leave the breaking news thing up for like 10 hours. No, like real breaking. Break it now.
Well, the thing that they do in TV news now, and I understand why they do it, but it's such a cheat. You'll notice if you watch World News, David Muir, or you watch NBC or CBS, they all do it. And you watch all the locals do it as well. I'm talking about TV news. Good evening. As we're coming on the air tonight, there is this. As we're coming on the air tonight gives it a certain immediacy, like, holy crap, something's going on right now. Even though it happened earlier,
It's
As
an
we're coming on
attention
the air
grabber.
tonight,
Yep.
yeah, Joe Biden has announced another, well, that happened, and the other thing, of course, they speak always in the present, like the gerund. As we come on the air tonight, Joe Biden announcing he is running for president, right? Like he's announcing it right as we're coming on the air tonight.
It's the ing, yep.
Yeah, it's the ing, exactly. But I do then have breaking news. It's legit-ish breaking news. Let me give you a mini law and disorder, and then I'll get you a maxi law and disorder after Kim's news. Here we go.
In the criminal justice system, the people,
pimps, addicts, thieves, bums, winos, girls who can't keep an address, and men who don't care,
are represented by two separate yet equally important groups.
A cop, a flatfoot, a bull, a dick, John Law. You're the fuzz, the heat, you're poison, you're trouble, you're bad news.
These are their stories.
And here it is. Let me put my credibility glasses on for this. California man. Oh, thank you for the breaking news alert graphic. California man who smoked marijuana in senator's office gets 4 years in prison for the role in the Capitol riot.
4 years. Okay.
Yeah. Don't light up in the wrong office. A Southern California man photographed himself while helping to trash the Senate parliamentarian's office, stole a bottle of alcohol, and then smoked marijuana in a senator's office during the January 6th riot.
If you get it in order, you get extra points.
All right. Well, he trashed the Senate parliamentarian's office, stole a bottle of alcohol, and smoked marijuana in the senator's office. So there you go.
Oh, great guy.
Eric Herrera is his name. He's a photographer from El Cajon.
Oh, bachelor number 3.
Yeah, if you want an event essentially photographed by Eric, it appears that he will not be in that world for a couple of years.
He's booked.
Yeah, as you will learn. He was among a crowd of pro-Trump supporters who breached the Capitol building during a riot that forced congressional leaders to flee for safety and temporarily delayed the counting of electoral votes. Anyway, jurors were shown a photo of Herrera posing there with a respirator mask, a pink respirator mask, goggles, and a bulletproof vest. He posted this on his own Instagram. He was holding what appeared to be a stack of documents within the Senate parliamentarian's office. The image showed items tossed on the ground and another man with his feet up on a desk behind Herrera. As he left the building, Herrera hoisted a bottle of alcohol that he'd taken from the Senate office and made a fist pump. Herrera wrote in a caption to the photo, quote, "I'm reclaiming Aztlan because I love America." Asked by another Instagram user about the photos, Herrera responded, "I wasn't thinking much. I just wanted a goofy effing FU picture."
Oh.
Well, he got the FU picture. The feds are also getting their FU picture. They say that, what is he getting? He's getting 4 years, is it?
That's what you said, 4 years.
Yeah, 4 years in prison.
Which is a surprise because most of them don't really get much of a penalty. So
I agree.
Right
I mean, I think they've been pretty mellow on these kids. More than a dozen people with Southern California ties have been convicted for their roles in the Capitol riot. Most got short stints, as Kim says, with supervised release or community service after admitting to what most often amounted to trespassing in restricted areas. There it is. We have a picture of him up there. Tony with a huge rally.
Thanks, Tony.
To get that going. But, and we've had more than 24 Bay Area people involved. So people always think of the Bay Area as a libby, but not necessarily. Well, there he is. He looks good, actually.
He's kind of a handsome fella. I mean, he's kind of for a mugshot, that's pretty nice.
He is a good-looking dude. And yet,
I'm telling you, bachelor number 3, but you got to watch out. You don't know what's under the surface.
They're going to like him in the joint.
Tune in again next time for more Law and Disorder on The Mark Thompson Show.
All right, that's it. Let's roll. Hey, let's be careful out there.
Well, I thank you, but I do have a lot more, actually. I mean, I've got and it's not all political and it's not all J6. There's a lot of stuff going on. I can't wait to share it with you. Of course, SCOTUS is corrupt. The Supreme Court mullahs that run this country, I believe they are radical activists with agenda-driven, but that's one thing. That was really my issue with the court before. Things like, Clarence Thomas doesn't recuse himself from a case involving his wife. I mean, my God, it's so obviously a case in which recusal is demanded. But that isn't even where they're so corrupt. I mean, there's that, but there's also hot and cold running money coming into these guys. It's just shameful. We'll get into some of that in the next half hour. And then if someone would be good enough to remind me, I'll tell the Tony Curtis story.
Back on me again, is it?
With your iron
Smash
rod.
the like button like a boss.
Right.
Yeah. Someone's got to do it. Much to come. Thank you for being here, Mark Thompson Show.
This has been Friday.
No.
No.
That one's on you. That one's on you. Blame on you on that one.
I'm blaming you for that.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. Let's get right to the debt of the nation. House Republicans and Democrats clashing big time on a debt ceiling bill. Republicans, overnight, did a little voting. They want to tie a debt ceiling increase to federal spending cuts. Democrats call the GOP bill an extreme MAGA wish list. They want to tie the debt ceiling to people on government assistance and making sure that they are getting jobs. They have all these requirements they're trying to put into place. A new FBI report says that there were 50 active shooter incidents last year, resulting in 313 casualties. That's what the new study says from the FBI. A number of casualties in 2022 greater than in any of the previous 4 years. The FBI says there was an increase in casualties, even though the number of active shooter incidents was lower in 2022 than it was in 2021. Former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson wants Republicans to have an alternative to former President Donald Trump, and he wants it to be him. Hutchinson formally announced his 2024 presidential campaign today. He made an announcement in the northwest Arkansas city of Bentonville, which is apparently where he was born, his birthplace. It's a historic moment. Meanwhile, Walt Disney World is suing Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. So that's always fun in the House of Mouse.
In Mickey's court.
Little lawsuit. Why not? Yeah, the news came shortly after the newly appointed governing board for Disney's district voted to void a set of last-minute agreements that the company made earlier this year. So Disney filed the lawsuit earlier today, calling the board's decision anti-business, and unconstitutional. The company went on to say the governor has used a relentless campaign to weaponize government power and go after its operation.
Well, that seems clearly true. Yeah,
feud between the state of Florida and Disney started last year after Disney spoke out against a law limiting discussions of sexual orientation in public schools, also known as Don't Say Gay. Yeah. I thought maybe you had comments.
No, I mean, I think it's true. I mean, it's clear. I mean, how it's going to be litigated ultimately, I don't know. But that there's a case there, it seems clear, right? I mean, he clearly got into a peeing match with the right with the people at Disney, and they outsmarted him on one level, and now it's gone to. I mean, he won't let go of this. It's a losing. It's interesting. There's no political acumen associated with this because it's a losing battle. Why you'd want to take on Disney in a state that is so dependent on so much of a tax base and even an employment base related to Disney, I have no idea. It's absolute insanity.
Is Disney not liked in Florida? Do the residents of Florida wish Disney wasn't there?
Exactly. Disney is loved. As I say, they provide money. They provide employment. It makes no sense. Acumen, you're right, is a ding word. Anyway, that's that's my thought on that.
There's some sad new developments in the case of a baby shot in Oakland. Police confirm she was hit by a stray bullet in her car seat on Monday night. They say video shows a man firing at cars as the parents drove home with their 15-month-old daughter and her 5-year-old sister. The baby was struck in the stomach, treated at a nearby fire station before being rushed to the hospital. She underwent surgery and is now listed in stable condition. And she just becomes another one of these children shot in the East Bay on freeways while in vehicles. You know, we had the 2-year-old boy, we had a 5-year-old girl, this little one, 15 months old. Yeah, hit by a stray bullet.
It's just sad and pathetic. It's the same stuff that we see when people are hit on the freeway as they drive, you know, and some stray bullet that's got nothing to do with anything in their life hits them and kills them. I mean, there's just way too much of this stuff.
Crazy. Meanwhile, in Walnut Creek, you've got a 9th grade girl who's recovering after being stabbed in the neck, and it happened at school. Police say she was attacked yesterday afternoon by a classmate toward the backside of Northgate High School in Walnut Creek. Witnesses saw the vice principal actually run after the boy and hold him until officers arrived. The student was arrested on attempted murder and mayhem charges and is now being held without bail. Counselors will remain on campus throughout today. Crazy. And let's end it with, and I wish I had a picture of this. I'm sorry, you guys, I don't. Maybe Tony can find one. But folks at a movie theater in Alaska are getting kind of a good chuckle after a hungry moose wandered into the lobby of the movie theater. What? It happened April 19th at the Kenai Cinemas, about 150 miles southwest of Anchorage. Security footage shows this moose munching on the remnants of a McDonald's Happy Meal before scurrying off. One worker joked about the situation on social media, saying, "Sorry, buddy, you can't bring your own snacks to the movies." Officials think the moose was drawn into the theater by the buttery smell of popcorn.
That's why we're all drawn into the theater. There is the moose, and you're seeing it. Tony, thank you for the hustle on that.
Tony, you're awesome. Look at
Yeah.
that.
Thanks, Tony.
I mean, the people at the counter are just like, yeah, there's a moose in the lobby. And this is
while they're videoing it, isn't there a way I can call and video at the same time?
It's hilarious. Look at
They
him.
are
He's
laughing.
Like,
they don't.
Can I get some
yeah.
popcorn, please, and some frozen Junior Mints to go? No.
Oh my God, what a sweet thing! Look at that creature. That's just the
He's
best.
just hanging out at the movies. He's maybe looking around. Which movie would I like to see? Oh, there he goes for the popcorn.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the Happy Meal. There you go. The Mark Thompson Show is crowdfunded. Means we've got to rely on you. You can help keep us going by contributing via Patreon or PayPal. Find the links and so much more at themarkthompsonshow.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Shadow Stevens. This is The Mark Thompson Show. Keep it to yourself. Do you feel it? It's The Mark Thompson Show.
This is Mark Thompson.
Feels great, baby.
It's unbelievably offensive.
Ralph Nader just sent me a book. Did he send you one too?
What he's got going here is a situation.
Put up your pants, my man! Pull up those pants!
You cannot say you love your country.
Let me kick down the door and talk to my stupid sons and daughters.
Don't make us beg. Subscribe, like, and share. The Mark Thompson Show.
Why are you yelling?
It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal.
What's a guilty pleasure you have?
Where are my weed smokers at?
Oh, wow. That was awesome. Yeah. Good to have everybody in the mix. I'm Mark. We've got Kim. We've got Tony. Albert is back on Friday, and Tony's been rocking. I mean, really some great stuff. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
Thanks for the moose video. That was awesome.
I'm telling you, nobody hustles video like the great Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah.
Well, Tony, what angered you?
And we could just figure out what angered him.
Oh, we don't have time.
Oh,
Thanks,
Tony, we know that you. Come on,
Let's
live in the light. You need me to get into some Zen again today, Tony? Maybe next hour we'll get into some meditative Zen moments. In with the good, out with the bad. We'll do it next hour. Still to come in this half hour, I've got some news from the Supreme Court as they continue their corrupt ways. But I have news from California here in just a moment, and I'll remind you that John Rothman would normally appear here. He is off for 2 weeks. I think it's in Mexico. Somebody's getting married. I forget. Maybe you recall the specifics. But anyway, John will be here in 2 weeks. Now, next week, I will tell you, I spoke to her yesterday. Pat Thurston will join us. So,
what?
Yeah, it's kind
Ralph Nader just sent me a book. Did he send you one too?
Liar, liar.
No.
Your pants are on fire.
She keeps saying no to me, but she says yes to you. Is that how this is shaking down?
Well, let me just say it might have something to do with you.
Kim, how are you?
I mean, you are.
What are
so
the porn
rude.
stars doing?
I
Mark?
can't.
I mean, I don't think you should take it personally,
There's
except
no
that it's
excuse for
probably
you.
something
No
related
excuse.
specifically to you.
Uh-huh.
I don't know that she'll be here, but she had indicated she's coming next week. So
Okay.
there you go. We'll see, but she is, a fan favorite. We love her, and I hope that she does come through. So that's all still to come. Smash the like button like a boss, and let me give you some information about a company that nobody's too crazy about.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Word out of PG&E. You know, a lot of people want to get electricity for any number of reasons, like these builders and contractors who set up homes. They set up any number of affordable housing sites or high-end housing, or whatever it might be. They got to get on the electrical grid. New construction I'm talking about. So there is this. In California, as we're in the midst of renewable energy transformation, more than $50 billion getting away from fossil fuels, it's still hard in San Francisco for builders of affordable housing, the other thing that is prioritized, right, to get electricity, to get on the grid. PG&E has to connect them, right? And it could take up to 6 months to get new construction on the grid. Hundreds of residential and commercial projects face months-long waits to get electricity all over Northern California. This is at a time when state leaders are talking about this unprecedented climate change-driven overhaul of the way power is produced and used. The delays are blamed on a troubled utility, a tight labor market, and aging infrastructure. All of that could get worse as we in California rush to reduce emissions. This is a whole transition that is going to require a third more electricity over the next decade. You see this in the chat occasionally when Randy shows up. He's a big one for this. How can you make demands of all of us to migrate to electricity? In other words, electric cars, ways in which we power appliances, from gas to electricity, in other words. How can you make those demands if you don't have the infrastructure to support that kind of demand? This all highlights the challenges of trying to pull off within a few years the kind of large-scale infrastructure projects that have traditionally taken decades. So critics say, hey, look, we had years to plan this. There's this from Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger's crew, someone who helped implement the first emissions reduction law under Schwarzenegger, had this to say: when we had time to plan this stuff, we didn't. And now everyone's trying to play catch up. PG&E says it's ready for the energy transition, but some state lawmakers aren't convinced. Senate Majority Leader Mike McGuire from Healdsburg, he says, quote, now we move toward a green energy future and our biggest liability is PG&E.
Why are you yelling?
This is, a terrible situation with PG&E. It's just so hard to get this infrastructure up to speed.
We're not ready. Are you kidding? I mean, remember, it was just last summer in the Bay Area when we had, 10 days worth of triple-digit temperatures, and the whoever controls the flex alert situation was saying every day, don't use your lights between the hours of 4 and 10 p.m. Oh, also, P.S., if you've got an electric car, don't plug it in between the hours of, X right. and whatever. I mean, so, okay, so you can plug your car in during the hours where you are at work, but not when you are at home. We're obviously not ready. If a week of 100-degree weather precludes us from using our power grid, no, we're not ready.
And look, this is the problem, too. These power lines that are set up to feed power to all of these different buildings, they're full. They can't get any more power on those lines. So they need a real infrastructure overhaul. And think about that. That's an immense job. And they're right. It should take years. And now we're asking for that all to be happening much more quickly. This is during a time when they're facing huge staffing issues at PG&E. So here it is. Upgrading them will cost billions and take years, those power lines I was talking about. PG&E spokespeople blame the problem on rising electricity demand. Well, that's only going to get higher. Increased air conditioning usage, EV chargers, data centers, and other draws on the grid. But they say they are ready for the transition. PG&E is absolutely committed to meeting the growing energy demand of our customers and communities while also continuing to invest in our energy system, prevent wildfires, and keep our hometowns safe. That's certainly the right thing to say, and I'm sure that they want that to be the case. But there are huge delays, and this transition is likely to be a real issue. It's going to drive up construction costs. I mean, there are a lot of other aspects to this that extend beyond just, when can you plug me in? So if you are a developer or a builder or a contractor and you are building affordable housing, was the example they gave. And there are hundreds of examples like this. In San Francisco, you may wait months and months and months before those units are online with electricity. I think it's scandalous, But that's the latest on that.
The Mark Thompson Show.
They think that there was one other. I don't know about this story, but let me just give it to you. The Tucker Carlson thing. They think there's one other element here in the Carlson dumping at Fox. And the one other thing is that Carlson may have been too much of a prayer guy for Rupert Murdoch. This is the suggestion, okay. Fox Corp chair Rupert Murdoch is said to have balked at Carlson's remarks in a Friday night speech, driving a theory about the primetime star's abrupt exit. He doesn't like all the spiritual talk, said a source. So that Rupert doesn't really groove to the extreme religious stuff. We know that because Kim's neighbor and his former fiance dropped out of the fiance world with Murdoch because it was said by insiders Murdoch was a little turned off by her being such a God squatter. Isn't that right, Kim? Kim, how are you?
Sorry, I was muted. She is a holy roller. Yeah. And a little bit too much of a holy roller for Mr. Murdoch.
Yeah, so there you go. So we have that example.
Yeah.
So the idea here is that, look, this is really, as we've said, and as we forecast on this show, it's related to the Grossberg thing, okay? The Abby Grossberg complaint, I'm talking about legal complaint, lawsuit, is the thing that really drove Murdoch to finally nix Carlson. In other words, it was off-air stuff, not on-air stuff. But the other thing, this is thrown in with a dash of it, is that apparently Murdoch removed Carlson over remarks Carlson made. This is the theory. Over remarks Carlson made during a speech at the Heritage Foundation's 50th anniversary gala on Friday night. Carlson laced his speech with religious overtones, and even Murdoch found those remarks too extreme. The source, briefed on Murdoch's decision-making, said that Carlson told the Heritage audience that national politics has become a Manichaean battle between good and evil. Carlson said that people advocating for transgender rights and DEI programs would want to destroy America. They should not be, and they cannot be persuaded with facts. We should say that and stop engaging in total fraudulent debates, he said. I've tried. That doesn't work. The answer, Carlson suggested, was prayer. Quote, I have concluded it might be worth taking just 10 minutes out of your busy schedule to say a prayer for the future, and I hope you will. The insider source says that stuff freaks Rupert Murdoch out. He doesn't like all the spiritual talk. Anyway, cut to Lachlan, Suzanne Scott, she's the Fox News CEO, and Rupert nixing Carlson. Again, they drew a line between a Friday night speech and a Monday firing. I'd suggest that there was really probably a lot more going on, but maybe there's a dash of this. I just don't know.
Isn't there something in the Bible about not being a lying liar who lies?
There's so much in the Bible.
I was thinking that maybe
are a liar.
Yeah.
Maybe if you're really a holy roller, you shouldn't lie so much. Just
calling me a liar. What you calling me?
I am indeed, Mr. Carlson, am indeed calling you a liar. This woman, though, this is Abby Grossman.
Sure.
And I was watching
Grossberg, actually.
Is it Grossberg? My apologies.
I think so.
I was watching an interview with her on MSNBC last night, and she was saying toward the end of the interview that it was during the deposition for the case with the Dominion voting that she wanted to get it on the record with Fox lawyers instead of going to HR about all of the misogyny and the anti-Semitism that she was facing working on the Tucker Carlson show. And so that's when she brought it up to them. And she also says in this interview, she says, I was listening back to some tapes that I have, right, and I sound very depressed. And I was like, okay, she has tapes.
Right.
She's got evidence.
Yeah, that's correct. And I love that you have pointed to this because I do agree that was a pivotal moment in this entire narrative. The minute you suggest that I have recordings of your client saying these things, anti-Semitic things, sexist things, creating an environment that's toxic. I have recordings of that. So we can cut the BS. That's when I think Rupert and that executive suite realized that they had a real problem, and they just decided to finally nix it. I mean, they just have lost this big Dominion case. They have a Smartmatic case waiting, and they have other legal cases looming as well. And so the idea that they want to deal with this guy, Carlson, and this is like what I took so much grief for online from pointing out what I was saying at the beginning of the show. They'll find another Carlson. It'll Jesse Waters or they'll dust off somebody else coming off the bench, and they'll run from the same playbook, and they'll be fine. I'm sure that's Rupert's feeling and the feeling at the top of Fox. But you're right. Kim is so right. Those recordings and the notions about there being audio, damning audio, that essentially will crucify Tucker Carlson and Fox News Channel for fostering an environment like this, that was the thing that pivoted that case to where it is and to offing Carlson.
I guess one thing I didn't understand about the interview she gave is she said she thought when she went to Fox that it was going to be different off the air than it was on. And then she said she got to the Tucker Carlson show and there were photos of Nancy Pelosi in a bathing suit taped onto her computer. Like this is part of the misogyny. And that it was total, what she said, Broville, right? It was all these guys slapping each other's backs and hee-hawing at, women and whatever.
Sure.
And so I don't understand how you could think it would be any different. Is that not the complete message they're putting out in the world?
I'll give you an example. I mean, I think you're right to point to that. It's a clear line, but you could also see it as these guys are putting on a show. They don't really act that way. I mean, no, this isn't the, Phi Delta fraternity on the air and off the air. But as it turns out, it is. Exactly.
Yeah.
So you do, I think, have this sort of Animal House atmosphere off the air. And that is an environment that's been slow or impossible to change, to kind of evolve to where we are today. And so that 1960s attitude toward everything, guys are in charge, women just have to shut up and take the abuse. I mean, that was played out, it sounds like, on some level. And when I say women, and minorities and all the rest. Yeah. But to your point and your question, or rhetorical question,
right?
How could you ever think that it wasn't that way off the air? I can see how. You can. It's the theater. We put on a show. Off the air, he's not that way. You used to hear that about Howard Stern. Howard Stern isn't that way off the air. He's sweet. He's this. He's that. I don't know. I don't know Howard Stern, but I'm just saying that Howard Stern did a misogynist show that he is embarrassed about. 10 years ago. And there are probably myriad examples of him as you go back through time saying all kinds of things that are just, toxic as hell.
Cringeworthy,
Yet you'd hear that Stern himself was actually a sweet guy. He wasn't like... So I could see where she might have thought that it was theater, but clearly it was not.
So either you don't care that kind of stuff that you don't want in your workplace is being perpetrated on the American people, pushed onto everybody else. So you don't care about the product and you only care about yourself, or you just don't get that you're going to go there and it's going to be just like the product you're putting on the air. I don't know. I don't want to blame the victim, but I don't see how you go to a place like that and expect that you're not going to have that flavor.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I actually think going to that place, like a place like that, to use your words, I really think more damning is the fact that what they're doing on the air really is subverting some seriously delicate and important institutions. Trust in the process, trust in various systems that deserve trust. I understand how we can be a questioning of many of these systems and wonder about, how much faith we should have. Look, we're going to do it next hour in the Supreme Court. But the idea that they peddled lies just because of a political jihad they were on, that's a real issue. So going there, I'm just evaluating their on-air stuff. I'm not looking at off-air. I'm just saying, really, you want to lead that parade, the hate parade? That's a questionable move. Now, you play it off against people have to work, people have families, people have, demands, they need to work somewhere. She had worked at MSNBC, I think. Before that, she'd worked elsewhere, so she's working both ends of the aisle. So I don't know really where her political loyalties lie, but that's my take on that. To give her the benefit of the doubt, that's sort of where I would sit. Anyway, that's a big, big case, and it continues on. So we'll watch. We'll see.
Do you feel it? It's the Mark Thompson Show.
I do feel it. I'm wondering if I can break for Kim's news, Tony, with your blessing. I can then, in the next hour,
thanks, Tony,
get to law and disorder, which is really very Supreme Court centric because of the corruption at the court. And I also have Brett Favre news. I have more news on that NBC Universal executive who was shown the door. It doesn't look good for him. I mean, in other words, his behavior was, sorry. Now I'm trying to give people the benefit of the doubt. But on this one, I think it's going to be tougher. And of course, if I'm reminded, Tony Curtis. That's his, seems to be the thing that everybody wants to. Yeah, I'll tell the Tony Curtis story. What happened to Tony Curtis story? We've got, I blame Kim. I mean, she had time.
Kim, how are you?
Instead, she wanted to talk about Abby Grossberg. Write your emails to Kim. All right. Smash the like button like a boss. We'll get to all of it next hour. I promise.
The Mark Thompson Show.
All right. Kim's got to unmute, and then we've got our show.
To unmute myself, and I don't know where. Okay, it is. Am I unmuted? Okay, good. On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister.
Am I unmuted? Should be a drop.
Am I unmuted?
Yeah,
Am I unmuted?
like
Did Mark mute me again?
There you go.
Really? Let's start with E. Jean Carroll, okay? Because this is the woman suing former President Trump, and she is expected to testify today. E. Jean Carroll accusing Trump of raping her in a department store dressing room in 1996 and then defaming her once she came forward with those allegations. During opening statements, Trump's lawyer said Carroll and two other women schemed to hurt Donald Trump politically. This is a perfect time for the breaking news icon on the Mark Thompson Show. It's not really breaking news, but I will say nearly 90% of Americans get their news from a public figure that they follow. That's according to a new Gallup poll from the Knight Foundation. The study says a chunk of Americans say they trust public figures more than they do news outlets. Now, that's kind of interesting.
What?
Yeah, apparently that's the way it is. So California communities are bracing for what could be catastrophic flooding. You heard Mark talk about it yesterday. This is the weekend. Most of that record snow that blanketed the state will start to melt. It is already happening in the San Joaquin Valley, and that is where Governor Gavin Newsom visited yesterday. He went to Tulare Lake. It dried up years ago, but it has since refilled from the epic winter rains. So the governor is warning the area all around it will likely be underwater in a matter of weeks, if not months. Looks like more
going to be an incredible snow melt. I mean, and very sudden snow melt, possibly because the temperatures are spiking so quickly. Yeah,
it's going to be a hot weekend in that area too.
Exactly.
More big box retailers are shuttering in San Francisco. Office Depot's downtown store is set to permanently close. Businesses in San Francisco will have to go elsewhere. It is unclear exactly when Office Depot in San Francisco will shut down, but the store is located on the ground floor of an 8-story parking garage, also home to the California Pizza Kitchen. The San Francisco Business Times says a developer submitted plans to turn that parking garage into a mixed-use high-rise back in 2020. The project seemingly not moving forward. It looks like women's retailer and home decor store Anthropologie is also closing their Union Square location. The closure already in the works and will close its doors by May 13th. Anthropologie's store closure marks the 17th store to leave Union Square in just the last 3 years.
I could never understand and figure out what Anthropologie really sold. I mean, it's a cool-looking store. Can you tell me or give me a sense?
Yeah, they sell cool stuff. They sell
I know.
Really
it looks cool.
Upscale dresses, and then
dresses.
As you're walking along looking at your dresses and your beautiful blouses and jackets, you'll see something that might look really good on your bookcase at home that's several $100s, but it's really arty and kind of cool and something you only see at Anthropologie. And
you can buy a Movado watch in sales.
No, you can't buy it at Anthropologie though. I didn't know. Thank you. I feel as though now I've missed out on something. But
there's a reason that this place is fun.
I guess so.
It's an upscale store for the, people that have everything.
I see. Well,
you can hold off on
put
that
it that way. I'm surprised I haven't been in.
They have some really unique dresses. You can hold off.
I was a basketball referee.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I get it. Then maybe on a basketball referee's salary, maybe you can't go to Anthropologie. But anyway, it's closing, so don't worry about it.
It is closing. The Union Square store is closing. It's probably still online though, if you want that dress. So Yosemite, we talked about the flooding a little bit. Yosemite, don't go there right now. The California National Park is shutting down because of snow, but this time it's for the risk of flooding because the snow is expected to melt quickly this weekend. So the park will close off much of Yosemite Valley, which is the most popular section. They'll close it starting Friday night, and the hope is to reopen by Wednesday, but officials warn more closures could come next month or in June. Anyone with a reservation will have to be refunded. They're lining up already to run for the governor of California. The race for the California governor's race is already taking shape. Former state controller Betty Yee says she intends to run in 2026, and she'll make it official very soon. She served in that role for 2 terms as the state controller, was also the budget director, and is the vice chair of the state's Democratic Party. Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis launched her campaign on Monday, and she is hoping to replace Governor Gavin Newsom, who cannot run again because of term limits.
I will give, if you could just say Lenny's last name again.
Eleni Kounalakis.
Eleni Kounalakis, I will ding. Very strong. I thought no hesitation, no double clutch. You just went through it. Very impressive.
You know, she had, when she ran for lieutenant governor, she had a whole ad, and it was all revolving about how to say her name.
That's so smart. They did the same thing with the Wisconsin race, as you know. We were going to run it. I don't know if we did run it, but then we talked about it. Yeah, it's a very clever way to kind of establish yourself.
There is a new owner of the iconic white suit that John Travolta wore in Saturday Night Fever. The 3-piece suit was auctioned off by Julian's Auctions and Turner Classic Movies over the weekend. It sold for...
wait a minute. Don't tell me. I don't know, and I want to guess. I want to guess with everybody else. All right, don't look. Don't Google. The Saturday Night Fever white outfit that John Travolta wore sold at auction. How much did they get? Oh, this is a great question. Tony, can you rally the picture of it? I think he's probably trying to do that. You know, Kim, you could tell Tony about these things so he doesn't have to scramble at the last second to get it.
I should have the picture. Here,
it would be really kind of Anyway, let's get back to evaluating this. And I'll take the suggestions. Here they are. I'm going to post a few of them. Gail says 100,000. 2 million, says Square. No way. 26K, says Walter. There it is. 150K, says Ron. 8,500, says Huge in Japan. 8,500. That's going to be like just what do they call it? Transaction fee. 500K, says shadow producer Calvin Wong. 500,000 also, says Gil. 450, says John. 600K, says Randy. 79, says Katie. 600, says Wellington. 2 million, says Perry Joe Jim Bob. I think that's a little high. It's sold for someone's self-respect, says Buck. 775,000, says Joe. And so on. All right, Mike says 125K. Wow, look at it. There's the shot of him in the white outfit on the subway. 66K, says Sio Jones. 43K, says Eric. All right, I'm going to say it went for, I'm going to go, oh, here's somebody who's going to go with the same thing. Matt and I agree. 250K is my guess. What is the actual retail price of that? What is it, Kim?
Very close. The suit, the white suit, sold for $260,000. $260,000.
Wow. So 250. Mark and who guessed with me? Somebody else had the same guess. Matt, was it Matt? Matt Kine, I think, we had the same guess. Wow, that's unreal. $260,000 for that?
They and that's quite a markup because the suit was purchased for the 1977 movie for $100 at a menswear shop in Brooklyn. Travolta, of course, a New Jersey native, had 2 identical white suits to wear during the movie's famous dance competition scene. He would use one of them while the other one was drying out. I guess from sweat.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The sweat. No, it's true. It was from Sweat. That's absolutely
never
right.
know where that thing's been. I don't know if I'd want to pay $260K for it.
The story behind the suit is actually interesting, and it's so only because of my addled brain that I can't remember it exactly, but maybe you can Google it. It's really pretty good because I saw a Q&A with the stylist for Saturday Night Fever, and it was really interesting, and she'd been the stylist for a lot of other stuff too. Anyway, I remember, now I'm Googling it while I'm talking, and I can't find anything except now this story, which I didn't even know about, which is the auction of the white suit.
Oh, but, you didn't know about the auction? Would you have wanted to bid on that? I'm sorry.
I really, I'm holding out for a BART car.
Oh, is that what it is? Yeah.
Yeah. But he wore the suit Travolta did at an event not that long ago. So it's still out there, but now somebody owns it. I think it's a pretty cool purchase. But
I mean, what do you do with it? Do you put it on and stand in front of the mirror and do some moves? Is that your Friday night, like looking at yourself in the white suit?
I don't think you put it on. I think you just have it. I think it's a collectible thing. It's the same reason you might buy a Michael Jordan jersey or a Steph Curry, his basketball shorts or whatever else, you
so
autographed.
If
you don't put it on.
Wear it. No, you got to use it. Got to put it on. Got to do some dancing.
I don't think so. Maybe.
No?
Yeah, could be. Anyway, there's the story about how they decided on a lot of that stuff on Saturday Night Fever, and I encourage you. I'll tell you what, I'll dig it up and I'll have it for you tomorrow if there's time. So,
the Mark Thompson Show is crowdfunded, and that means we have to rely on you. You can help us by going to Patreon or PayPal and finding the links at themarkthompsonshow.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
All right.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson.
Yes, thank you.
Mark Thompson Show.
Thank you very much. Great to be here with our second hour. Those of you who are new, it's kind of a radio TV hybrid here. This is a radio show. We brought it over to YouTube and dropped the radio part. And many of you do listen on podcasts. We are on podcast platforms across the board. So feel free to take in the content that way. It's the Mark Thompson Show on all these different platforms. So love having you here on YouTube. We are able to form a community here that we never had on the radio. That is really great. We're able to kind of do a back and forth with you. And so all of those things make this platform very special. So I appreciate you being here, as I say, and also smashing the like button.
Smash it with your iron
And as
rod.
Kim says, we're crowdfunded. So super stickers, super chats, all the ways that you support various shows on YouTube. I truly appreciate it. And you can even, as you watch in replay, there's that heart with the $sign. You just click it and you can leave us a few dollars in the virtual tip jar. In fact, I'll acknowledge some who've done that this week, tomorrow, because it's a pretty good crew. And you guys who watch in replay and then step up and leave us something, it's really great. So thank you for that. All right, now, this hour, some law and disorder, the Supreme Court, and a Tony Curtis story.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I was at the premiere of True Lies. You remember the movie True Lies?
Oh, with Jamie Lee Curtis, right?
That's
and
right.
Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Exactly right.
Yeah, that
Jamie
was a
Lee
good
Curtis
movie.
and Arnold Schwarzenegger. And it was a big premiere in Westwood, Southern California, one of the places that they do these big premieres with a huge theater, red carpet set up and all of that. Felt very lucky to be there. And I was there, I think, by myself because I had to still do the news that night on there. It's not really important, but I was sitting midway in the audience. It was packed house. You had Schwarzenegger there. You had Jamie Lee Curtis there. You had Tom Arnold there. They were all stars in the movie.
Yeah.
And we sat there, watched the movie, and I noticed before the movie started, Tony Curtis was there sitting, I'm going to say, 15 rows back. Jamie Lee Curtis was on his left, And then on his right was this very attractive woman. I don't know who she is as I sit there and look at the scene. And then some other woman also, I think, is his wife, or, Tony Curtis's wife.
Can I put an asterisk on this story? How embarrassing to be sitting next to your dad when that strip scene comes on of her trying to strip in the bedroom with the sexy dance, and she's sitting right next to her dad. Oh, God.
I think when you're an actress at that level,
it's okay.
And your dad is Tony Curtis, it's not a big deal. No, it's not.
Look away,
like,
Dad. No.
It's not like you have a nude scene in the community theater production of True Lies. You know what I mean? This is a big movie directed by James Cameron. I mean, we understand that there's going to be stuff. And, one of her calling cards has been sort of the sexy femme fatale, right? So I'm sitting there and I'm saying, wow, that girl next to Tony Curtis, not Jamie Lee, but on the other side, is really pretty, and I don't know who she is. And then there's the other woman who's clearly, I think, Tony Curtis's wife or something. So that was it. I registered, watched the movie, blah, blah, blah. I'm going out, and as I made my way out to the aisle, Tony Curtis is right there, like right when I come out and I'm waiting, and everything is, clogged as everybody leaves together. We're standing there. I don't say anything. Tony Curtis is like right next to me, like he'd be right here. And the woman he was with, the woman who was, it seemed, his wife, she was also next to him. So I'm and you'll get this and you understand how messed up my thinking is. I'm thinking, don't say anything, dude. It's a premiere. Everybody's a star. Don't seem like a fanboy. Don't embarrass yourself.
Be cool.
Right. Be cool. Yeah. Exactly. So I don't say anything. But the crowd is not moving. So I'm standing next to Tony Curtis. The crowd's not moving. And I'm thinking, Mark, now you're the a-hole because he's a huge star and you're pretending like you don't see him or you don't know who he is. Yeah. You must say something. In other words, the cool factor now is to say something. Okay? Before it was to ignore it, sort of, or pretend like you've been here before. So you must say something. So this is all going through my head. I turn to him and I go, hey, nice to see you, Mark Thompson. And he goes, Mark, nice to meet you. This is my wife, whatever her name was. I said, Jamie Lee was just magnificent. I said, I think I said your daughter was just magnificent in the film. I mean, you have to be I thought it was a great performance and a great movie. And I then didn't say anything more. He said he introduced me to his wife, and then I said this. By the way, I saw Jamie sitting next to you, and there was also another woman sitting on your right. Who was that? And he said, that's my daughter, Kelly. And I said, oh, and I said, well, she's very attractive. And he said, you must meet her. And he takes his hand and his arm and he reaches it around mine. I still don't know how geometrically this could have worked. And he wrapped it like a boa constrictor would wrap around your arm. Like it was a multiple wrap. It wasn't just like he grabbed my arm a little bit. It was like all the way under and I said, as we begin, he starts pushing the crowd away to get to his daughter, who I guess is in the lobby or something, so that he can introduce me to her. And I turned to him and as he's walking, I said, is she single? And he says, no, she's married, but you're not going to let a little thing like that stop you, are you?
Oh, no.
Swear it. It was the greatest Tony Curtis moment, And he took me out to the lobby where Jamie Lee Curtis and Kelly Curtis, they were congregating with a couple of other people, and he introduced me to Kelly right there in the lobby.
Oh, my God.
It was utterly crazy. Just the best. And so Tony Curtis, that's who he was. He was a Playboy Mansion, Beverly Hills Hotel, old school, right? Tony Curtis. Nice to meet you, Mark. my daughter Kelly. Just the best. So that is my my run-in with Tony Curtis.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah.
Well, I had to go look up then a picture of Kelly Curtis because I now have to wonder, Kelly Curtis, I had never seen her before.
Yeah,
Well,
where
here
is she?
is a picture of Kelly Curtis.
Okay.
And apparently she had been in some things as well. Here's a
I'll
picture of
bet.
her.
Yeah.
She kind of looks very similar to Jamie Lee Curtis. I mean, you could definitely tell that they're sisters.
Right.
That's a picture of her from Beach Girls, which is apparently a thriller movie.
Wow. I don't know Beach Girls, but
well, hey,
he was never reviewed by Michael Snyder. I'll tell you that. But is that the only picture you can find? I literally don't remember. I remember she was very, very attractive.
Did you end up going out with her?
We ended up being married for a brief time, just a few months.
Is that what happened?
Yeah.
I don't know Tony, but I assume it's great.
Yeah, it's Tony Curtis, different Tony. No, we never went out. We never went. I have to tell you, it went. I mean, maybe if I'd had more oomph, my feeling was, I'm in that. Is that her also?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, wow, in kind of a big-brained way. I didn't mean it to sound, yeah. But what I was going to say is that it's a crowded kind of group. I would have had to sort of try to break her off from the group, and it wasn't conducive. I think somebody who's more skilled in those sorts of social situations might have been able to do it, but it was not for me. Anyway, it was fun though, and that's a great Tony Curtis moment. I mean, I can't believe it happened in my life. I mean, it was just, he's a major movie star, and that was so perfect. He was just, I could have kissed him for giving me that story, just because it is, as I say, just so much a part of what you would imagine Tony Curtis saying. So, all right, let's do it. We've waited long enough. Let's do some law and disorder.
In the criminal justice system, the people,
Pimps, addicts, thieves, bums, winos, girls who can't keep an address, and men who don't care,
are represented by two separate yet equally important groups.
A cop, a flatfoot, a bull, a dick, John Law, you're the fuzz, the heat, you're poison, you're trouble, you're bad news.
These are their stories.
Let's start with some gambling, everybody. Illegal gambling. That's right. It's going on right in San Jose. Cops raided a network of illegal underground gambling operations. Yes. Oh. Throughout San Jose, this illegal gambling is going on. They generate a lot of quality of life issues, said the San Jose police spokesperson. But also behind the scenes, they create a lot of criminality associated not only with the casinos, but firearms, drug consumption, drug possession. Well, when you put it like that, it really knocks the buzz off, to be honest. Dozens of gambling machines were recovered, nearly $300,000 in cash, 11 guns, and cocaine, meth, and other drugs. 24 hours a day going in and out of the house. It wasn't just a certain time of day, says the cops. It was all day long. Neighbors said they'd long noticed that something seemed wrong at the houses that were the subject of the police investigation and raid. Their first clue was the unusually high number of people visiting the homes throughout the day. It's damaging the property values, and you're not safe, said a neighbor. That same neighbor said that she'd lived at her house for nearly 30 years, was concerned about that nonstop traffic, cars, people in and out of the neighborhood. Last week, she says she was about to run some errands when she noticed the cops outside her neighbor's house. I saw a couple, a man and a woman, handcuffed over there, she says. Apparently, a 43-year-old dude was the mastermind behind the entire operation. So that really is what will do you in if you're running some underground whatever. It's the effect it has on the neighbor. That's your immediate societal effect, right? So,
if you're going to do gambling and crime and have a house of, sin, You've got to do it in some faraway location, a secret lair, you know.
Right. That's right.
Maybe
it's not going to
boat on the bay, something interesting.
Absolutely right. Yeah. I like that, actually. An illegal gambling operation in a boat on the bay. Get that organized, and I'm way on it. Yeah. Also in Law and Disorder, Devin Nunes. He lost a court case yesterday after we got off the air. His it was a libel suit, and essentially the judge just tossed it out. They filed a libel suit, Nunes and his relatives, over an Esquire article saying that his family enjoys, or I should say, his family hires a lot of undocumented workers on their dairy farm. And they went to court over it, and the judge threw it out. So Nunes and his villainy continue, apparently, but they will not get any help from the court. The SCOTUS situation continues to be immensely troubling. You have essentially an agenda-based group of activist judges on the Supreme Court who answer to no one and are bound by no kind of ethical underpinning. Now we learn of Neil Gorsuch. You know, Gorsuch is now, hold my beer, Clarence Thomas. Let me show you how this is done. A nearly $2 million sale of a property co-owned by Neil Gorsuch to a prominent law firm is raising new questions about the lax ethics reporting requirements for Supreme Court justices. Property records from Grand County, Colorado, show that the Walden Group LLC, that's a limited liability company, and Gorsuch is a partner in that company, they sold a 40-acre property on the Colorado River to someone named Brian Duffy. He's the chief executive officer of the law firm Greenberg Traurig. Duffy and his wife, Kari Duffy, paid $1.8 million for the property. And it happened that this property was sold after being on the market for 2 years, and they couldn't sell it. It was sold quickly. It was sold within the month after Gorsuch was sworn in as an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court.
Well, that's interesting. How did that happen?
And then the financial disclosure report, which, as you know, has been, let's just say it has been, there's an elasticity about how much information people are on the court providing within the financial disclosure report. Elasticity would be a ding word. His financial disclosure report, that is Gorsuch's, that he filed for that year, 2017, lists a sale by the Walden Group LLC for a profit of between $250,000 and $500,000. But the section where a buyer could be listed is blank. It's unclear if that's a violation of any ethics rules, but it's clearly left blank. Now, the lawyers at that law firm that Brian Duffy is CEO of, those lawyers have appeared in numerous cases that have become a part of the Supreme Court record through the years since April of 2017. That's when Gorsuch took the bench. The Supreme Court has not responded to requests for comment. Another lawyer in the Greenberg Traurig Denver office led the legal team representing the state of North Dakota, for example, in a dispute over the Environmental Protection Agency's authority in regulating carbon emissions as part of the Clean Air Act. I remember that was a big thing to me, and hopefully to you. Gorsuch was part of a 6-member majority on the Supreme Court that ruled in favor of North Dakota and other Republican-led states to cut back the EPA's authority to regulate carbon emissions from existing power plants. Remember I said they rolled it back. Same thing they did the last administration with water, right? And then you're thinking, well, you're violating certain EPA standards, certain EPA regulations, protections for consumers on air and water. No, the Supreme Court is ruling that the EPA was not legitimate in imposing those regulations. That was a huge decision. We spoke of it at the time as maybe undercutting the power of this formerly powerful government organization to protect American citizens from many toxins in air, water, and soil. Gorsuch was involved with that decision, and the lawyers who were associated with that real estate sale were also involved. It's largely up to the high court to enforce these laws. You saw it happen with the last president. A lot of stuff is allowed to slide. You know, no one's watching the watchers, and that's a problem. So when it comes to transparency, how these sales go down, it's clear that these justices are taking advantage. I might add that Gorsuch really does pick and choose what he decides to post and what he decides to, when I say post, put in these various financial disclosure reports. For example, he put in that somebody had purchased a fishing rod for him. So if you're putting in stuff that is like at that low level, presumably, a few $100s, I don't know how much a fishing rod, let's assume it's a high-end fishing rod, I think that suggests that you're aware that you're supposed to document all of these things.
Are fishing rods expensive? How much does that cost?
I mean, I'm saying maybe a few $100s. I don't know how much it is.
Okay.
But so I'm just saying you'd think that the details of a real estate transaction might be similarly disclosed. Yeah.
Yes.
And the same true for Clarence Thomas says, I didn't know I was supposed to disclose any of that. Really? You didn't? These guys, as I say, I think they're philosophically compromised. You know, I think that there's just such an agenda here. But that may be the case for a long time. I mean, maybe it's been the case for a long time, and maybe it will continue to be. But this is really beyond the pale, what you're seeing. Ivanka has split from Don Jr. and Elec as her world could get stuck up in court. There's a $250 million fraud trial, and Ivanka has hired her own counsel to represent her. This is a tax fraud case that's filed against her, her father Donald, her brothers Don Jr., and Elec in their capacity as officers in the Trump organization. This is from Forbes. Before this, Ivanka shared an attorney with her two brothers, but with the case filed by New York Attorney General Letitia James looming, she is now going her own way. This is right out of Succession. You know? You guys go with your guy, I'll go with my guy.
Sayonara,
yeah,
sucker.
I'll see you later. The case was filed in September, expected to go to trial later this year. It accuses Trump and his family business and the three of his children of a staggering, as it's put out in the indictment, staggering fraud for overvaluing the former president's assets by billions of dollars. The lawsuit seeks $250 million that it suggested the Trumps reaped through deceptions of that sort. So they're going to all be running on their own, is the point, with their own attorneys. That's
Speaking
the
of
latest on that.
Succession, I'm at the episode, the Boar on the Floor episode. I don't know if you remember that.
What happens?
This is where he's trying to ferret out some type of disloyalty, and so he invites everyone to this hunting lodge.
Yeah, that's just so gross. Yeah,
and
right.
They get in this,
makes everyone
on the floor, crawling around, making pig noises and throwing sausages at them and making them eat sausages on the floor. And you wonder what people will do for money. Like, how low can you go? You know, how much disrespect can you take just for money? Yeah. And they do it.
Oh, yeah. No, they did it. And there was almost a shame if you didn't do it. There was a shame suggested that you should be living with if you don't do it. So, yeah, I must tell you, I cringed also, and I thought I'd be down there probably trying to,
get the sausage. Yeah,
suck up to the man. Why not? I mean, there you go.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Well, I'm not done with Law and Disorder, am I? Am I? Oh, I am? Oh, apparently I am. Okay.
I'm sorry. That's all we have time for today. No.
Well, it was a good outing.
Tune
anyway,
in again
I
next
thought.
time for more Law and Disorder on the Mark Thompson
It's
Show.
over before you know it.
That's it. Let's roll. Hey, let's be careful out there.
All right, man. That's the reason this place is fun.
There's a reason that this place is fun.
All right. We keep it moving. That's for sure. Smash the like button like a boss.
Smashed it with your iron rod.
And when we come back, I'd love to visit quickly what's happening with Brett Favre. I want to put it in Law and Disorder because he's definitely in trouble.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, well, he's a grifter. Who would have thought you need to grift when you have tens of millions of dollars? But does look like he's a grifter. And I'll give you a quick update on that. The NBC Universal executive that was dumped. That was the other big dump over the weekend. You'll remember it was Don Lemon, Tucker Carlson, and that NBC executive. It was really it was on Bloody Monday. And we were talking about... He was
the one that had the 11-year relationship with a subordinate?
Right. Yeah, but as it turns out, there is he was fired, as we say, with cause. And that means he doesn't get that huge payout that all those usually high-end executives get.
Oh.
So, yeah. So smash the like button.
Smashed it with your iron rod.
All right, Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. And let us start this newscast with a look at President Biden, because apparently there was some kerfluffle at the White House. The White House now confirming President Biden will serve the entire second term if he is reelected. Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre's response to the question during Tuesday's press briefing caused a stir on social media. The president officially announced his reelection plans on Tuesday. Again, the White House saying he's not going to step down and give it to the vice president. If he is reelected, the plan is that he will serve the entire second term. That there was questions to the contrary. Oh, Tucker, it hurts so bad. Text messages ranging from disparaging comments about a network leadership to questioning the use of fact-checking are said to be a reason for Tucker Carlson's exit from Fox News. Carlson's text messages were included in public court documents in the Dominion Voting Systems defamation lawsuit. The Wall Street Journal says senior leadership at Fox saw those text messages and were none too pleased. Yeah. So
yeah, the trial really just exposed his disdain, of course, for Trump, we learned, but also the crap he said about management. And then, as we've said, the recordings that Grossberg has in her trial, he was doomed. I mean, once all that stuff became, there's just no denying those texts that you see in black and white. And the emails.
Yeah. So I don't feel bad for him. So I just don't. South Korea will not be pursuing its own nuclear program. This is part of an agreement with the United States. The president of South Korea spending a day with President Biden at the White House. The agreement designed to deter North Korea from launching an attack on its neighbor. You think that'll work? I don't think so.
I don't think it'll work any better or worse than the situation that's already there. It's just we've already got a situation of mutual assured destruction, essentially. So, but I guess
attorneys for disgraced Theranos CEO Elizabeth Holmes are filing an appeal to a lower court's decision to reject her release. Her lawyers say the ruling denying her release contains several errors. Holmes' 11-year prison sentence for fraud is being delayed during the appeal. And here's a story for people that take those CBD gummies to help them sleep at night. Heads up, researchers say potentially dangerous levels of CBD and melatonin have been found in a number of these sleep gummy brands sold as sleep aids. The study from the Cambridge Health Alliance in Somerville, Massachusetts, tested more than 24 gummy brands. The co-author of the study said one product contained 300 47% more melatonin than what was actually listed on the label. And 4 of the tested products contained levels of CBD higher than listed on the label.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Wow. That's, it's already difficult with the gummies. That, to dial in exactly what you want.
Stay at home and get baked.
Yeah, but you don't know how baked you're going to get. It's tricky. The edibles provide a little bit of I don't know, based on how much food I've had, how long it's going to be, how my digestive system's going to, you know what I mean? Edibles are their own.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Yeah, I'm no expert, but I'm just saying, I think that's the general thing about gummies is you don't know how they're going to be metabolized. And now you're telling me that the label you can't even trust necessarily?
And that's the thing, is if they're going to go to the trouble to put the label up, then the label should be accurate. At least people should be able to trust what they're reading, right? I don't know.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look at the chat. Edibles scare me. I won't touch them. Somebody else had a couple of comments, but
not comfortable with the edibles. Yeah.
I'm not comfortable with the edibles. Yeah. There's because they're not medications. Okay. Yeah.
I know a lot of people though who have trouble sleeping, and they do use those.
Edibles help so many people with pain. My sister has chronic pain, and it she has topical. There are so many people who. But I'll also say this: they're also just people who want to get high. Fine. What's the big deal? Again, I'm not a big user, but I completely support, the idea that, hey, if you just want it recreationally, why shouldn't you be able to, anyway.
Do what you got to do.
You got to do what you got to do.
Let's go to some business news now. Apple reportedly developing an AI health coach to help people with exercise, sleep, and eating habits. Bloomberg reporting the paid service, codenamed Quartz, could be ready for release sometime next year. So there you go. An AI coach for you. Looking at the ways we're going to use AI, apparently.
I love it.
AI is going to be telling us what to eat, how to sleep, what to do, and whatnot. Just so you know. Gap laying off hundreds more employees in a new round of corporate cuts. The San Francisco-based clothing retailer continues restructuring efforts. This round of layoffs expected to be larger than the last round in September, when about 500 workers were let go worldwide. And the word is this could affect people in corporate at the San Francisco headquarters.
Wow.
Also in San Francisco, big U.S. banks that have propped up First Republic Bank are now being given a piece of urgent advice. Help the floundering bank now, or pay more in FDIC fees later when the bank fails. According to CNBC, First Republic is offering bonds for purchase at above market rates for a loss of a few $1 billion, choosing not to buy. And in the event of First Republic Bank does fail, those banks would face about $30 billion in fees. So interesting. Big to-do at Facebook. Advertisers asking for refunds after a platform-wide ad glitch on Facebook. The glitch caused campaigns to spend most or all of their daily budget before 9 a.m. Hey, you're supposed to stretch that out. No. What? The parent company, Meta, has not commented on what caused the glitch, nor has it confirmed refunds are coming, but they ought to be. Here's one for you guys. If you're at a cocktail party, I want you to remember you got this from the Mark Thompson Show. Okay, This is the trivia. India is on track to become the world's most populous country this month. That, according to the United Nations, which said this week, India's population will match and then exceed China's by the end of April.
Wow.
You're welcome for the trivia.
Yeah, that is wild. China's in a little of a kind of a flat growth thing. China's got some problems. We think of them as, they're clearly, an emerging dominant economy, but I would love to actually get Dylan Radigan back to talk about just that, because we see China, of course, we're their biggest customer. We've made that point before. And they, for all of the hostilities and sort of being on tense footing with us, they still need us and we need them. That said, it's interesting to kind of x-ray their economy and where they are. And there are some problems. They have some definite issues. So as you look at this China-Russia connection from an economic standpoint, they're two countries that are actually in a little bit of trouble economically. I'd love to get, and I will get Dylan Ratigan back on that. Who's that?
Of
Carrie
course,
Fisher?
That's Carrie Fisher, the late Carrie Fisher. And you would think she would already have one of these, but she doesn't. She will soon be honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. The name of the actress, best known for her
She
role
will really appreciate that.
Princess Leia in the Star Wars trilogy, will be memorialized on Hollywood Boulevard, right near the El Capitan Theater on May 4th, which is Star Wars Day. So May the 4th be with you.
Wow.
Yeah, tell your little friends, dreams do come true.
Yeah, dreams do come true after you're dead. I mean, come on.
It is nice, though. I mean, she'll always have that, there'll always be a star remembering her.
Away.
I know, but for her fans and whatever.
All right. I'm just saying, I mean, Ryan Seacrest has a star. We couldn't swing one for Carrie Fisher before Ryan?
I know.
Oh.
Yeah, and that's why I'm surprised. You'd think that she would have had one decades ago. I think they've been remiss with the speed at which the stars are given.
They have been remiss, and remiss is a dang word.
I'll take it. The Mark Thompson Show is crowdfunded. Yeah, baby. That means we have to rely on you. You can help keep us going by contributing via Patreon or PayPal, and you can find the links and so very much more at themarkthompsonshow.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson.
Oh, I love it. It's a Zen pen moment. Yes. It's a meditation connection. This is what we needed. Yes. In with the good, out with the bad. Yes. Try to focus on the positive.
Why are you yelling?
Don't think about the fact that our political system is awash in money and corruption. That your voice and your votes mean less and less every year. Don't think about that.
You know what, pal? You created havoc and chaos.
Try to get into the peacefulness of this moment.
And I also want to know what happened to the pictures I was supposed to see this week.
Well, my friends, we can't cure all of the issues, but we can relax.
What's a guilty pleasure you have?
Yes. Relax and accept where we are.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I feel better. Thank you. Thank you. I think those Zen moments should be followed. A little small cocktail or aperitif kind of helps chase them down a little bit. Just a thought for the future.
Is that a new thing we're going to be doing every day? We're going to have a little kind of,
I don't know if we have time to do it every day. I don't know that we had time to do it today, actually.
Oh.
But I think sometimes it's what's required,
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the comments. Sorry.
What can you tell us about the scene?
Just looking at the comments, Larry. Brett Favre has been, I hate to use this term, but they use it here in the this Mississippi magazine. A Mississippi judge has shot down Brett Favre and his request to dismiss civil charges brought against him in the Mississippi welfare saga. He's accused of being involved in what is the largest welfare fraud case ever in the state of Mississippi. $80 million in funds fraudulently transferred from the Mississippi Temporary Assistance for Needy Families program. The judge, Faye Peterson, denied former NFL quarterback Brett Favre's attempt to dismiss the civil charges against him. He wanted to punt them. See what you... thank you. Thank you. Yeah. It was a Hail Mary kind of thing. I think. Yeah. That's right. He wanted to do an end around on the charges. Hey, see what I did? Okay. Yeah. Brett Favre has tarnished his reputation irreparably after involving himself in this scandal. The former Green Bay Packers quarterback entered the Hall of Fame and has had a heralded NFL career, but now Favre and his reputation have gone down a toilet with all of this. He is a welfare king fraudster. Why would you possibly want to do something like this? It's ridiculous. But that's where Brett Favre is. And those are the realities. That NBC Universal dude, the CEO, had that 11-year relationship with the woman who's a reporter for CNBC. She's based out of Abu Dhabi. That's her. That's right. The reality is apparently that this guy Shell, Jeff is his first name, I believe. Jeff Shell, yeah. He had a reputation at NBC. And more people are saying it was only a matter of time before this guy was going to get nailed. And he also broke off her deal. Remember, her last name is Gamble. What's her first name, Kim? It's like Alyssa or something. I forget what the first name is. Anyway,
Hadley.
Familiar.
What is it? Adley?
Hadley. It says
Hadley Gamble. Great name.
Yeah, Hadley.
Yeah, got it, Kim. Tony got it first.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, okay.
Scooped me.
Yeah.
Kim, how are you?
Yeah. So apparently her contract was not picked up and their relationship had also ended. So when you put that all together, of course, it's all couched in, here's the real reason she wasn't being picked up in her contract and all that. But the reality is that didn't help. Add to that a reputation that he had for kind of being something of a hound, not my words, their words, and insiders talking about him. And you end up with a situation in which he is fired with cause. It's a weird fact that this same guy, Jeff Shell, dumped Ron Meyer, and that was over an affair with actress Charlotte Kirk.
It's a picture of Hadley.
There you go. Yeah, she talks about her legs and her back. I mean, she's kind of, I don't know. But there was a lot of talk about Jeff Shell. And Jeff Shell, discharged from NBC Universal, as I say, with cause, is lawyering up. So he didn't get a golden parachute, but he's going to want some kind of money. It's a pretty sordid tale, and I don't know that he'll be able to recover any money, but they may settle. He had they had this relationship with this woman who was legitimately getting some big interviews. And now there's all sorts of reporting about her. She posted a picture of her talking to Vladimir Putin after she'd done an interview with Putin. And it was an image on Instagram she posted, holding up the front page of a newspaper that showed the pair on stage at an angle that showed off her legs. My best angle, she wrote, with a feminism hashtag. She also posted a shot of a cake that she was sent featuring Putin's face and his comment about her being too beautiful.
Oh.
Sources say the relationship with Shell ended around the same time as the Putin interview. Gamble was a small part of CNBC's team based in Abu Dhabi. She was known for launching a Middle East-focused program for her bureau and for being a key player in securing Saudi and Gulf advertising and sponsorship for CNBC. Gamble was well connected with the top finance players who traveled through the region. Apparently, one person said, was not particularly popular. She's the person the camera crews don't want to work with. And that's a telltale sign.
It
said
is.
The source. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's hardworking in some ways, but she's realized there's more value to bagging a few big guests a few times a month rather than working away at lower level stories on a daily basis. So now you're hearing about Gamble. There's the shot of her and Vladdy Putin. It was also this place, NBC Universal, that was just beset by these kinds of issues, right? They dumped Matt Lauer for sexual harassment charges. And they do investigations. They're not just charges. Once the investigation yields certain corroborative evidence, they dump the person.
Yeah.
Corroborative is a dang word. Anyway, this may have an effect on people who are dumped by this same guy. So we will see. But his reputation is smeared, and apparently he does have a reputation also prior to this of being, something of a, if you want to call him a runaround or whatever. I guess that was the case. But, it's getting very hard for NBC to get their house in order.
I just found this picture of Hadley at that Putin interview.
Yeah.
And the question was asked whether she used herself as a sex symbol to distract him. And look at this look on her face as she's looking at Vladimir Putin. It's very... I don't know. Yeah, it is flirty, don't you think? Like, kind of
oh my
come
God,
hither.
it's super flirty.
Girl, you just woo.
Yeah, exactly. She's really playing the flirt card.
I mean, that's kind of a fun and flirty Vladimir Putin interview from an American journalist. It's not you would think it would be more of a hard-hitting, serious. Not that you can't smile, but I'm just, yeah.
Yeah. I think she enjoys the company of...
Yeah, he's looking.
Yeah. Powerful dudes, Also, she has a romance, and she's been romantically linked. Now they kind of do the x-ray on her life. She had a relationship with David Bonderman. He is the chairman of a private equity firm called TPG. He's 80.
Oh.
Just to let you know. Yeah. So it's kind of
what?
Well, I mean, the heart wants what it wants, even if it may be,
Hey.
He is the Seattle Kraken's co-owner. Estimated net worth of $6.6 billion, according to Forbes.
You just wanted to say Kraken.
He has extravagant lifestyle appetites, apparently, hiring bands like the Stones to play at his lavish parties.
Oh.
Yeah. David Bonderman. So she and Gamble have been rumored to be hanging out. Seems as though they might be. She's on his plane a lot. And anyway, so I hope those kids are very happy. It's nice that she has a fallback. You know what I'm saying? Hadley's got David Bonderman to fall back on. So there's that. All right, so
The Mark Thompson Show.
We wrap up. I think I touched on everything I had to today. I mentioned that Pat Thurston looks to be coming in next week. John Rothman off for 2 weeks. Tomorrow's a great day. You've got Bean Baxter, a longtime broadcaster, a British citizen, came over here, magnificently successful morning show down in Los Angeles, and Bean is a royal guy, so he is way into the coronation, and I wanted you to hear it from somebody who's way into it. So Bean will be through tomorrow, along with questions that you might have about the royals, and Buzzy Cohen, the Jeopardy champion, he will be here tomorrow as well, along with David Katz and our regular questions about the law. And finally, Belinda Weymouth. And it's the Planet Stupid. All of that is happening tomorrow here on the show. Now, there's a question about Nikki in the chat. Will Nikki be on her show?
No. She comes back tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
It'll be tomorrow. It'll be Nikki-less today. Tony, do I have people to thank?
Yes.
Besides you, Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
Yes.
Yes? All right, let's do it. I'm excited. Thank you for stepping up. Deborah B., big shout out.
Big shout out.
Thank you, Deborah B., for a super sticker today
Thank
and
you.
for hanging out with us today. Appreciate that. Vicky in Sausalito, a regular, and is becoming a regular supporter. Thank you, Vicky. Big shout out. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Wes, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Wes. I also have Marge for $9.99. Big shout out. My God. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I poked you with a wooden stick, Mark. You ain't the boss of me, says Wellington. $10. Well, you're right. I'm not the boss, but I give you a big shout out.
Big shout out.
And thank you. My Tony Curtis story, says Peace Rose, is when I worked at the Whiskey on Sunset. Oh, I bet you've got some great stories if you worked at the Whiskey on Sunset. Tony Curtis came in often and wanted to dance with, I wanted to dance with him on the dance floor. I danced with him often there. Fun story.
Huh.
Oh, that's cool. I should write a book about my time spent with celebrities. Sat on Harrison Ford's lap.
Oh.
Was a dancer at Johnny Carson's birthday party. Sat on his lap. Lots of lap sitting.
What?
Yeah. You could call it the laps I've sat on. Or how do you think? Anybody? We need a title for the book. Something with laps, I feel like, would be right. That's very cool, though.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. But how dare you try to top my Tony Curtis story with your lap sitting? My God. Here I have a great Tony Curtis story, and it has to get topped by one of my own listeners.
Why are you yelling?
Can't I have a moment of glory is all I'm asking.
Why are you yelling?
JR for the win. Laps of luxury.
Laps of luxury is great. That's great. Bravo, JR. Really cool. Take a lap? Nah, maybe. Memory laps. Lap it up from Pietro. That's not bad. Oh, I love it.
I'm Shadow Stevens for The Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
The last lap is pretty good. Susan, bravo.
Time. Bye-bye.
All right, big show tomorrow. Be here on time. Till then, bye-bye.